Hey everybody, welcome! My name is Kurt, aka the Vitruvian Gamer, and we're here with a new part of my top 75 board games of all time 2016 edition for this moment in time. Which is too long, so the title here will be a little bit shorter than I just mentioned. But anyway, we are here with numbers 50 to 41, so we're entered the top 50. And well, don't waste any time and let's start with number 50. And number 50 is probably the smallest game of this list. It is a game published by AEG, designed by Seiji Kenai. Board Game Geek, the highest rated version, because there are many, is 161, so it's highly rated, especially for such a small game. And I'm talking about Love Letter. Now, this version is the Batman version, and I'll tell you why I choose this one. Now, in this game, which is a 2 to 4 player game, which you should play with 4 players, by the way, in this game, you are trying to, well, be the last man standing each round, because that will score you points. Now, how do you do that? With cards that you get. Now, if you are always holding one card in your hand. If it's your turn, you draw one more, and you play one of both cards. These cards can do things like guessing what card another player has in his hand. If you're right, the player is eliminated. Or cards can protect you, or you can swap cards, you can look at another player's card, and stuff like that. Very simple things to do, but they work pretty cool. Now, this version adds one thing to it. If you correctly guess what card another player is holding, if you use the guard, or in this case, I have no clue which one does it. If you're right, instead of eliminating the player, you get to eliminate him, and you score another point, which adds more to the fun of guessing correctly. Wow, okay, but that adds a lot to the fun, and small game, very easy to teach. It is also in my top 10 gateway games. It might have been number 1, because this is always one great to introduce new people with, and they always want more after they play their first game of Love Letter. And if they don't like Batman, you can go for a Hobbit themed, an Adventureland themed, maybe a custom made one, maybe the base one, which is pretty cool as well. So that's my number 50. Love Letter. My number 49 is a game that I don't have in my collection, because it plays with at least 3 players. Now, there is a variant out there that plays for 2 players, but it doesn't seem too interesting for me, so that's why I can borrow the copy of my playgroup if I need to. This game is at this moment 1101 on Board Game Geek, so it has a way to go upwards, but I think it will. It is by CGE, which published great games, and it is by Philip Neduk. A new game from 2016, and I'm talking about Adrenaline. With the magic of editing, there will be a picture somewhere next to my head. Now, in this game, you are playing one character that is in an online shooter, a first-person shooter. That's how you want to see it. And it works really well. So in this game, which really reminds me of the old game that I used to play on the computer, Unreal Tournament, you're running around these rooms, you're picking up weapons, you're picking up power cubes, in which you can use to reload weapons or activate more abilities of certain weapons. You have all the weapons that you want. You have the typical shotgun, the grenade launcher, railgun, axes, whatever you want, and they all have their special powers. Now, cool thing is, if you pick up a weapon, you take it in your hand. You can have a maximum of 3 weapons at one time, and if you want to shoot, you play the weapon and you do whatever it says. But at the end of your turn, well, you have to reload, and you have a certain amount of cubes to do that with, which you can also regain by picking them up on the board, and that way you want to reload your weapon to use later in another round. Very cool game, really thematic. I had my doubts about this when I first saw it or heard about it, but after playing it, wow, it managed to get to my number 49 spot. It might have been higher if I wasn't in the situation where I mostly play 2-player games. But great game, number 49, Adrenaline. Number 48 is a big one. It's a big game, and I already have 2 expansions, because the expansions came after a month of its release here in Belgium, so I spent a lot of money in a short time. Why a lot of money? Because there comes quite a bit in this box of Mansions of Menace 2nd edition, which is by Fantasy Flight Games, designed by Nikki Valens. And on Board Game Geek already made it up to number 42. So it's really popular. Now, this game, the biggest difference with the previous version is that this game plays with an app. That means you need an app to play this. And some people might not like it. That's possible. And yeah, well, that's your choice. That's your opinion. But I don't mind it. Now, this game, this app makes it possible to play this completely cooperative. While the previous version you had to have an overlord or whatever it was called who did all the things the baddies did, put on the room tiles, told the story and stuff like that. Now, as I already mentioned with Imperial Assault, I don't like this one versus many games. I like the idea of it, but it's just nothing I can play a lot. That's why this game, this second version, which uses the app, is perfectly. It's a very thematic game. You're running around in these haunted mansions and stuff like that, trying to uncover some mystery. Now, each time you enter a new room, or it is the mythos phase where bad things happen, you expect bad things to happen and you're always scared what's going on now. And sometimes nothing happens and you're like, and sometimes the game keeps on going that way until you're like, when are things going to happen? And that's so exciting. And some moment, some things will happen, of course. Really cool game in the Cthulhu world, so Lovecraft, all ugly beasts, creatures, magic, all crazy things going on in this game. Really cool. App helps to play it cooperative, helps to give it more flavor with some sounds and music in the background. It is my number 48, Mansions of Madness, 2nd edition. Number 47 is a very different beast than the last one, the big one here, because this one is a 2-player game. Only a 2-player game. You can play it solo, you cannot play it against someone else with more than 2 players. 2 players only, by Mayfair Games, by a designer who has a great pedigree of board games, and that is Uwe Rosenberg. Now, this game, Patchwork, is number 38 on Board Game Geek, so it's very popular, and that's a lot, saying a lot. 38 for a 2-player only game, that says a lot. Now, in this game, you're trying to make this a quilt, which is, of course, not maybe the most cool theme of them all, but the way it plays is, because you are, in your turn, you are trying to get these pieces of fabric that you're going to use for your quilt. And as you can see, they are shaped like these Tetris pieces, and you have different shapes and sizes and stuff like that. Pretty cool. Now you want to put these on your own tableau, because at the end of the game, if you have empty spaces left, they're all worth -2 points each, which can be devastating for your end score. Now, the way this works, buying and placing these tiles, is pretty interesting, because you also have a central board which is determining who player's turn it is. Because if you buy one of these tiles, there is a cost on them as well in the hourglass. So you have a cost in buttons that you have to pay to get this one, but also in time. And you put your piece on the central board that spaces ahead. If you pass a button on that board in the middle, then you get your income. For each button on your own player board, you get 1 button back. But also, if after your turn you're still behind the other player on the track, you can go again. And that's how it mitigates stuff. How much time do you want to lose on the board for a certain piece? Is it too expensive? Will I get just some income? Pretty cool. Awesome game, back and forth, buying pieces, making your quilt, and hoping to have the most points at the end of the game. It is my number 47 with all the falling pieces, Patchwork. Now, we just had the mother of all microgames, Love Letter. Now we have the mother of all deck builders. Now, I really like deck building games. They are a great system to use in games, and each time some deck builder comes out with a cool theme, I'm into it. Now, this one, the theme is very, very pasted on. And I'm talking about Dominion, a game by Rio Grande Games by Donald X. Vaccarino. Board Game Geek says it's number 50, so pretty well-rated game as well. You can play this from 2 to 4 players. Last year it wasn't on the list anymore. Before that it was number 26, and it came back because I really started to appreciate this game again as a gateway game. This is a perfect introduction to deck building. So people who never play deck building, don't know what it is, this game is perfect for that. You can play with kind of a basic standard cards that don't have too many strange rules. and that way they can start playing. Very easy, so it uses the system of deck building. You buy cards, they go into your discard pile. If your own draw pile is empty, you shuffle the discard pile to a draw pile again, and that way the cards that you bought can come back. Now the goal of this game is very basic. You are trying to get enough resources to buy cards that give you points. And at the end of the game, that triggers when certain amount of piles run out or a certain amount of points pile runs out, then the game ends and you want to have the most points. That's it. One of the best gateway games, especially if you want to teach someone what deck building is. My number 46 this year, Dominion. Number 45 is another kind of game that I really like, and that's cooperative games. And this one, for me, is one of the most underestimated or underrated games out there. It is by a great designer, which already was mentioned when I did 7 Wonders, and that's Antoine Bauza. And I'm talking about Samurai Spirit. Samurai Spirit is published by Funforge Games, a game for 1 to 7 players, yes. And on Board Game Geek, sadly enough, it's only 864. Now, last year it was my number 46, so it went up 1 spot, and that's because I keep on liking this game. Each time I played it, it is a tense, fun game. Not too hard, it's quite light, but hard to win sometimes. Now in this game, each player is playing a samurai, and they are trying to defend a small village. And the way that works is there is a raider deck, you draw a card from the raider deck, and you have to see if you want to defend against it, and which is a kind of a set collection for 3 icons that you want to collect, or you put it on the other side of your player board where you're going to fight it, and then you want to, well, not to be too strong, so you go unconscious, so you're knocked out, but you want to calculate it that you can enter a certain number in total of power of your opponents, that you can activate your Ki, which is a special power which helps you a lot. Very cool game. There are power penalties that you have to go through when you're fighting against certain enemies with penalties on them, like there will be sneaky raiders, there you will have farms or villagers burned, or your barricades will go away and stuff like that. Very cool game, underrated for my opinion, and I really like this one. That's why it's my number 45. Number 44 is also, and that's from now on we're going to mention this, is my number 10 best game of 2016. As far as I played them all, because there are a lot of that I didn't play yet, but this is also a top 10 for 2016 included. Now this game is, again, one by Fantasy Flight Games, designed by Richard Lanius and Kevin Wilson, 2 big guys in the industry. You can play this up to 8 players. But if you have one base game, you can only play this 1 or 2 players. And it's already 182 on Board Game Geek, and it's not been released that long ago, so it's really popular already. And I'm talking about Arkham Horror, the living card game. Now, living card game means there will be a lot of expansions to it, with new stories, new scenarios, new cards to it, and you can manage your own deck of cards with your character. But the difference between a collectible card game like Magic the Gathering that we already saw is that each player gets the same cards. Now also, this is a cooperative game, so it doesn't have the competitive nature as a Magic the Gathering that you have, or a Netrunner, which is also a living card game, very popular, but is competitive. This is cooperative fighting. Also, actually, like in Mansions of Madness, fighting these strange beasties and conspiracies, as you can see on the box, with a lot of tentacle stuff going on. It plays really cool. It is a really cool system. Each time you have to do a skill check, you have to draw a tile from a bag or a token from a bag, which will give you plus or minus to that check. So you always want to be prepared before doing a check, and you can mitigate that with item cards, with skill cards and stuff like that. Even your companion can help you if he or she is at the same location. Very cool game, cool narrative as well, and well, this one is one that I will keep following as long as I can and will and want to, and it looks pretty cool. There are many expansions already announced, I saw on Board Game Geek, so this is not that soon. Arkham Horror, the living card game, my number 44. Another legendary game hits the top 50 list at number 43. Now this is the top 9 game of this year of 2016. So it's at one of the 10 best games of 2016 in my opinion. It is Legendary Encounters, a Firefly deck building game. So this is a game by Upper Deck Entertainment, designed by Ben Kikoski and Daniel Mandel. It is at Board Game Geek not that highly rated, only 1367. You can play this up to 5 players, from 1 to 5 players. The reason why I really like this is the theme. So it adds a lot to the game, of course. This is a great theme. If you like the series Firefly, you are going to have a lot of fun. But it is not higher for 2 reasons. And the first reason, sadly enough, is the artwork. The artwork in this game is not good. There are some cards that you can say are even very ugly. And that's sad. I was hoping to get a game for Firefly with great artwork, recognizable artwork, and sometimes this is recognizable, but sometimes it's just painful to watch. Now the other thing is this game is so hard to win. So you have more of these kind of games, Legendary and Legendary Encounters, which are challenging, but not devastatingly hard. This game I have not been close to winning this game, not a single time. But that's okay. I like the challenge in the end, so we'll see if we can finally win a game of this. Now, the cool thing about this is, with the Legendary Encounter system, is that, well, you have to scan the cards that are coming on the board first, so it adds tension, because you don't know what is hiding beneath the cards, that you will need to have, well, to complete certain missions, some certain scenarios that you are going through. Very cool thing about that. Plus this one adds the Firefly, the spaceship as well, which you can upgrade to give you bonuses, but which can also get damaged, which hurts you during the game. And that adds a lot of theme, a lot of tension to the game. You have to decide whether to repair your ship, to buy upgrades, maybe you want to have other cards. You have much choices, which makes this game very replayable, very fun, very exciting, and that's why it's my number 43, my number 9 of 2016, Legendary Encounters, a Firefly deck building game. Number 42, again by the magic of editing, will appear somewhere next to me. I will slide us away a little bit, and that is Lanterns, the Harvest Festival, a game by Renegade Game Studios, and I think that's the second game on this list, because we already had Covert. Yeah, we already mentioned Covert, so they're having a good year. It's my number 8 game of 2016. Renegade Games, yes, and it's designed by Christopher Chung. Now, this is 576 on Board Game Geek, which is cool, not bad, to be honest. And it is placed up to 4 players, 2 to 4 players. And in this game, it's a kind of a tile laying game. So, in the beginning of your turn, you draw a tile and you have to decide where to place it. Now, each tile are colored on the 4 sides, and they can be different colors, some same colors. And if you manage to place it that way that 2 of the same colors connect, you get to draw a card of that color. After that, each player will get the color of card for the color of the tile you placed that is facing them. And that way you're trying to collect sets of certain colors or a certain combination of colors, which you can trade in for point cards. And of course, the goal of the game is to have the most points at the end of the game. Now, this game is, as you hear, very simple, very straightforward, but it is very fun to play because you are trying to focus on your own thing, but you also want to be sure that you don't give away cards that other players need. So it is a little bit tactical, you want to see where to place the tokens. A really cool game, really like it, looks beautiful, very colorful on the table, and there's not that much left to say about it, because it's very straightforward. It is my number 42, Lanterns, the Harvest Festival. My number 41 is a game that is number 278 on Board Game Geek, which is also pretty cool, pretty high, because it is a solo game, so only for 1 player. And this game is a game by designer Friedman Fries, the man who loves green. And as you can see, this box is green as well, and I'm talking about Friday, or as we say, Vrijdag. Now, Friday is, as I said, a solo game. It was the first year I did this list was number 24. or last year was number 24, so it dropped some spaces because I don't play a lot of different solo games anymore because of this channel. So I'm always playing other games that I can use on the channel, that's why. But sometimes I pick up this game again and play it, and I really like it. In this game you are Friday, the fellow on the island where Robinson Crusoe ends up after his ship wrecked, and Robinson doesn't know what to do. So Friday is going to help him, going to train him by sending Robinson on these missions, and it works like a deck builder. So you are going on a mission and you are drawing cards from your deck to see if you can succeed the mission with the number that you have to reach. Now if you succeed, then you get the mission card, you turn it around, and it also can have a number that can help you later for stronger missions, or an ability which allows you to draw more cards, remove bad cards and stuff like that. So you're going to three levels of this game, and you hope then to fight the two enemy bosses, the captain ships, or the pirate ships at the end of the game, while not dying, because you start the game with a certain amount of hit points that you can pay to remove cards that you have to pay if you don't succeed in missions. Really cool game, very fun. The artwork is cute, but the game is hard to win. It's not an easy game to win, but easy to play, and it's very fun. That's Friday, my number 41. And that ends this part of my top 75 list. We are down a few games already. We are going to the top 40 next time. Next time we'll do 40 to 31. And well, if you want to know what games are in there, well, feel free to subscribe if you're not a subscriber yet, so you will notice when that part of the list will come online. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to talk about the games that I mentioned, if you think, hey, Vitruvian gamer, really, Samurai Spirit, the game sucks, let me know. You might feel that way, and you are allowed to say so. So if you want to discuss some games that I talked about, maybe some games that you really love, maybe there's a game here, maybe Mansion of Madness is your number one of all time, let me know. Put it in the comments and we can talk about that. Until next time, I thank you for watching, and I see you all in the future. Bye bye.